What were your thoughts? Did you look at the lineup and gauge anything that McKinstry's thoughts are so far?
When you look at the team that was summoned, it had 99% of the players that featured at the Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt. Remember, McKinstry, when he was appointed, we had a Chan team that's preparing for the game against Burundi. They had played together against Somalia twice, and then the game against Burundi. And then we had one against Kenya that was a friendly. In my opinion, I think he's trying to ensure that he sees every player. One of the best ways to do that was to give these players a chance that were at the AFCON, because he's not going to watch them so often in their respective leagues. He went with the same team, save for the omissions of Jamal Salim and of course Khalid Daucho, who got off the list injured, and then Farouk Miao didn't make it. To me, it was a very strong Uganda Cranes side. That had the likes of Joseph Ochaya, Dennis Onyango, Tadeo Rwanga, who is cementing his place in the holding midfield role. Then Alan Chambade, Chrysosto Muntambi, one of the local best players that was on the team and got playing time. I was speaking to one of the coaches, that's Abdallah Mbiro, who is managing the Chan team. And he told me he advised the coach to add on Ntambi, because Ntambi was one of the players that was part of the Abu Dhabi camp before the Africa Cup of Nations. So the best way to assess him would be to join the other team before he comes and maybe be part of the Chan team. I'm told he had a very good game. And then the likes of Okui continues to score. Away from the result and everything, I think it was a very strong side. And of course, one that a friend of mine described as meet and greet from the coach. The coach is meeting most of these players for the first time. He has a chance to watch the local players play in the league, and they have a Chan game where he will be part of the coaching staff, although he earlier said that he will let the likes of Mobiru, Mbabazi and the rest of the coaching staff to take a full charge of the game. But you could see, he wanted to see how are the other guys faring, the one that are play from outside Uganda. You have a chance to watch these guys in the league and also get the advice from my assistant coaches. To me, it was a very good team lined up on the day, and it sends signals that despite the fact that we have a very, very, very good locally based side, the players that play outside still stand more chances of being in the first team for the national team.
All right, Abdu. Thoughts on the Uganda Cranes performance?
Yeah, good performance, though I think the coach was right to say that, you know what, let's not play the team from Egypt. We can't play the Pharaohs right now. And I think he was right, because how do you go for your first game and play the team from Cairo or the Egypt? Because they're going to slaughter you, they can even beat you 5 goals, but playing Ethiopia, I think it's a very good chance for the team to get to know these players, to see the befitting system that they will use to play. And I think for me, the innings that was good for the coach. Yeah. And Okui scoring goals, I think that's his 26th goal on the national team. Classic for him.
Okui is on Uganda Cranes run, right? Having got some goals in the AFCON, I think he got the other goal in the friendly against Kenya as well, and now the friendly against Ethiopia, which has always been our issue, creativity and goals for Uganda. We've always been winning 1-0, 1-0. Are there any upcoming stars? You know, everyone is talking about Anaku's Beckham-esque goal. Who are those youngsters that you see coming up to solve our goal scoring problems going forward?
When you look at the way the Cranes play previously, I've always said it's not about the fact that these guys are not good center forwards or forwards, but the fact that we've always lacked creativity. But when you look at the team, the way it plays since the Sabre in the Africa Cup of Nations in particular, and then maybe the games later, you could see the team fields more attacking-minded players. Yesterday, they had Lumala Abdu on the pitch, Alan Chambade, Emmanuel Okwi. They had Alan Chambade, Emmanuel Okwi, Patrick Kadu, you could see there were so many attack-minded players with only Tadeo Lwanga as the defensive midfielder, and his game has improved a lot in terms of going forward of recent. So you could see he could also add in numbers going forward. When there is creativity, you very sure have a goal from Emmanuel Okwi, Patrick Kadu, but when there isn't, take an example of the era Massa played. We used to field Tone Maweje and Musa Mode as our two blocking midfielders. And then at times, Godfrey Lusimi playing on the left together with Nestor Ichizito. Those are already two left backs. So creativity was very limited. But these days you can see the team is having a lot of creative players, and then the coaches are confident enough to field them. Talking of the youngsters that could come in, national team football is something very tough, especially for newcomers. For starters, the national team does not play more than 6 games, and the other a year, and 6 games is a maximum. You may have,
unless there's a competition.
Unless there is a competition, maybe a tournament here. But if not, I'll give you an example. Patrick Kadu does not have more than 3 goals on the national team, the senior. Forget this giant side. But because of that header against, was it Cape Verde, he's on the team and looks like he's there forever. The likes of Edris Arubega, who got there before him, Paul Dennis Nsivambi, who got there before him, they now struggle to displace him. But just because of that goal, that's how difficult the national team is.
2 goals against Cape Verde and Tanzania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does not have a lot of goals. But what I'm saying is,
Kadu, right?
Yeah. Your first game always on the national team matters a lot, because I remember not so many players have had the best of debuts for the Cranes, save for Hassan Mbiru scoring twice against Algeria, then Philip So scoring the winner against Liberia. Geoffrey Massa also did the same on his debut. That was against Lesotho, the Africa Cup of Nations qualifier in 2006. You could see when you do well on your first game, it will be hard for you to leave the team. If you don't do well, people will always castigate you, because there are always many players. We are talking about a national team that only needs 18 players on match day, 23 in a tournament. But remember, we have a league of 16 teams, that's the Premiership. Each team, on average 25, on average. Then we have the FUFA Big League. Just add on the players that play from abroad. When you're given a chance and you don't take it, you're out. When your chance comes and you use it well, you'll be on that team forever. I'll give you an example. I don't think Ucho Khalid or Godfrey Lusimi or even Denson Young that would be the best that we have around. But of course, your first game and the games that when the coach gives you chances, the way you associate. Yes. I remember, you cannot tell me the reason why. It's tough to tell me. You may have a reason, but it's tough to tell me why Babachis was not playing on the national team. Not that he never did anything bad, but just because Aucho came in, did well, we all forgot that we have Baba. Moses Oloya.
Yes.
I think Moses Oloya is a similar player to Lumala Abdu, and I would say he's even better technically. But then Lumala Abdu, just 2 games. That was against DRC and was it Zimbabwe?
Yes.
Now everybody is saying he's part of the team.
Yeah.
But then we've had players like Muzamiru Mutiaba, fantastic, technically gifted, positioning, game intelligence and everything. He struggled to break into that team. The likes of Saidi Cheyune. Yeah. But your first games will always tell me. That's why it's tough to say we have these youngsters that will come and break into this team. I'll give you an example. John Levita is doing well. Harry Dilwariwa has been one of the best defenders in the league for the last 5 years. But then Timothy Awanyi gets there before him. Then, like I told you, Saidi Cheyune,
Yes.
in this one of the best midfielders I have around.
Yeah.
But then you see Alan Chambade comes, does well, he's on the team. Waiswa comes, he's on the team. So it's always tough. I'll give you an example. Alan Okero is one of the best that we have around currently. But he's not got that national team chance and used it well. Yeah. The likes of Bright Anokani, I can have a guess, may even be get into that team before Alan Okero.
Well, because what Chong is saying is that we have a pool of so many players there. Because you look at the likes of Alan Okero still there. We have now the new crop of players coming, Karimwa Tambala, Sanse Nyonjo. There are very many. We have a pool of talented players. So basing on the coach, it's a question now to know which type of players to use or what identity he is the coach creating for Cranes now. Yeah. Mostly, it's now identity for the Cranes because what are we known for as Uganda? Yeah. Attacking-minded? Are we defensive?
Well, so clearly we are not attack-minded unless that's a new thing that is coming up.
Mitchell spoiled our team.
Yes, no, Mitchell gave us an identity. We would grind results.
Of being defensive.
No, I don't think it's Mitchell. Actually, Mitchell
gave us
Mitchell got us the best identity that you could build around results. Because at least we, every team that played Uganda knew they were hard to break. Yes. Yeah, they were hard to break. So we did have that. Just like we can say the Kenyans are physical. The Tanzanians try to be technical, but then they are not as talented. The West Africans, Ghana, are not talented. I mean, Ghana very talented and kind of not so physical. The Nigerians, physical and also talented. Then the likes of Cameroon, talented and physical. So the Arabs, quick, fast, and technically gifted, and time-wasting antics. So what do we have? Yes, what do we have? What we have now is we are trying to go from the defensive part of it into not even attack-minded, but playing possessional football. Because from possessing, you defend well and you can also attack. That's a transition that we have to take up. We've seen, like we said here, it's not something that starts at the top level. How many teams do play that kind of football? Today I had a discussion with my friend Clive. When you look at the league table today, Police and Proline are at the base. Bull and Dumparaka at the top. But then Police had 2 players on the team. Proline has 2 players on the team. What does that tell you? Yes. There is something they play, the other ones get results. Yes.
Bull is not even. Bull doesn't even have a single player, and Dumparaka doesn't even have a single player. So, true.
All right. So, because we have lots of talent, I am assuming that Chan is therefore very important to try and weed out the upcoming stars so that they can be ready for the national team. And we have a match on Saturday, right? Facing Burundi. I think it's unless something really crazy happens. We are
3-0.
We are going to get another chance.
Of course, it looks like so. But football can be funny. If we went to Burundi and scored 3, and they did not even score against us, we went to Somalia, a relatively weaker side than Burundi. We scored and we conceded. We did not concede against Burundi. They can come to Lugogo and also they will try to put up a fight because they know they have nothing to lose now. They need just a goal. If they get it before you guys get it, it means there will be that little pressure. But of course, I know we shall do the job and finish off it. But the coach has encouraged the players that whatever happened in the first leg does not count now because it will always come to the head of the players that we are done. Let's just finish off this job arrogantly, but you need to stay focused because, the most important thing is that the way you play against Burundi on Saturday may enlighten your chances of being part of the Chan team in Cameroon. I'll give you an example. We've had players coming off. Alan Kayua started the season well with Vipers. Then his form seems to be dipping. We've had Paul Mutules doing well, But then when you look at Mbarara City, there is Ibrahim Oliti, who has been summoned, by the way, who is also doing well. The coaches may say we've had Muchules so often. What does he add to the team? Of course, it's the coaches, because according to the game I watched between Wasojans and Mbarara City, I discovered that Muchules was doing so well. I was surprised that he's not on the team. But of course, we have had players that are given chance. Actually, in other countries, when it comes to Chan, when you get 2 chances on the Chan team, you don't get back, regardless of whichever form, because they know this is a very, very large pool of players that we have to test. And I've had a player here trying to say the likes of, say, Muzamiro Mutiaba, Ibrahim Saddam Juma, Mike Mutiaba should now just be off that team, because they've had chances. They've even played for the senior team. They've failed to break through. Now let these guys that are, yes.
Well, that's very interesting. Thank you, all of you who have who are watching us. Joel Muita, we see you, and we know what you did yesterday, or rather what you did not do at the Media Sports Gala. Bana Swibe, who says Yonga is so tired. What happened to my sheikh? Yesterday was a Sunday. The man, you look for photos. If you saw posted photos, did you see any Chionga smile on those photos? There were no photos. The Kajingo Ismail tells us we missed Mia. Is it referring to the Ethiopia game? Mia has reached a level where he's now like a definite, one of the first names on the Uganda Cranes teams. One of those, like when if Brazil has a funny friendly, they might not put Neymar there. So even Argentina, unless it is in the contract that Messi will be there, is this getting to that point where he's like the Messi of the team?
Yeah, I can say so, because he's been scoring goals in Turkey. So I think the coach has been following up on him to watch his goals, because we have seen his goals on YouTube and on social media. So to me, I think, he's a big name there. But I think after Dennis Onyango, the same thing, I had a question of Dennis Onyango being in goal yesterday. Would have given chance to Robert Odonkara also to show what he has.
Okay, you wanted the captain out. Goalkeeping is a very difficult department to unless anyway. Yes.
Talking about Mia, I don't think Mia is a Neymar or Messi for this country. First of all, he scores goals. He's been doing so well in Turkey. But then, let's look at the national team. In the Africa Cup of Nations, he was very wasteful. He did not deliver the goods just as we expected. Yet, by the time he joined the team, he was doing well for that team in Croatia then. So to me, he's still a young man, learning his trade. He needs to be part of this team. Yes, he's young. He's young. Yeah, he's from dead balls. But just look at how many dead balls did he waste. I'm not saying that he didn't do well, but in my opinion, he still has a lot to learn. He's still a young player. One of the attributes I like about him is hard work, patience, and then the fact that he wants to learn, because not so many want to. When you look at that team, the Cranes team, besides Lumala Abdu, I think Mia is the youngest by them for that senior team, Cranes team. And he's a player who wants to score goals. Maybe his interplays could not be as good as we would like, but he will always pop up with that goal. But then he's made himself a name that if he doesn't score for Uganda, he doesn't look as good as he should be. He's not so much of a team player when it comes to Cranes. Maybe that needs to be improved. That's why I'm saying he should have been on the team, but of course, maybe it was a tight schedule. Not that because he's already established, because Onyango wouldn't be there. We wouldn't have Okwi, we wouldn't have Waswa. But of course, like I said at the start, this was a meet and greet. And it will be hard to find at the last time a new Uganda Cranes coach started with the victory. It's sad. I'll try to research, but Mitchell didn't. Bobriya Samu, I think, didn't. Lazarus Zaba didn't. Okagubwe didn't. Yeah, even Abdallah Mbiru didn't. Especially with the interim in Kosafa. Of course, officially he did.
All right, you always have to start strong. Dennis is asking who is the official number 2 to McKinstry. Is it Mubiru or Mbabazi? Has that been pronounced?
Yeah, what was said was that the technical team that has been working on interim remains in charge alongside McKinstry. As McKinstry watches them, and maybe from there he will see whether to keep them or not. But I've spoken to one of the coaches. He's been in touch with the coach, that's McKinstry, and he's happy with the two of them being around. Of course, Abdallah Mbiru, as long as he's around, he's the first assistant. Not so sure whether the federation has the money. Of course, the money is there, but having the guts to pay the two, because previously we've always had just one assistant coach. But what if McKinstry likes the two of them? Because his question could be stemming from the fact that Mubiru did not travel to Ethiopia. But the plan was Mubiru stays because the Chan team started training yesterday. Mubiru, Masa, and then Sadiq. Even told that Kajoba did not go there on a permanent basis, but he sat in for Sadiq Wasa, who stayed to handle this Chan team. It remains to be seen how it's going to happen when they return. But of course, Mbiro already started his work yesterday. He's been with the team even today, and even right now they are training at Starsime Stadium, Lugogo. So that was the plan. For now, all the technical staff that was part of the interim is still intact.
What do the two? I think you know these coaches quite well. What does Mubiru bring to the Uganda Cranes technical bench, and what does Mbabazi do?
That's a hard question. But to me, I think both coaches play good football. When you look at Police, the way they play, when you look at Mbara City, how they used to play under Livingston Mbabazi, and when you look at his new team, that's Paraka, the way they played KCC, they were playing the other way, their way, because they're playing their way. So I think they bring in that flair of football that people really love to enjoy. Mm.
And you?
They are not coaches that will be afraid to give chances to players. I'll give an example that when they were going to Burundi, they dropped Muchules and Alan Kaiwa for Vianney Sekajugo, and the boy repaid by scoring his first goal for the national team. And they are very brave. I'll give an example. When Biru had just been given that job on an interim basis, he summoned players like Yusuf Sozi and Andrew Chigozi. And social media was awash with sayings that he summoned them because they are joining Police. But anyone that has watched Police, Abdu Wasike will bear witness. I can testify to that. Vipers Police, those two boys, especially Yusuf Sozi, the man of the match, did a lot of things, and everyone was saying on social media. I remember I have a friend, Sechewa Mark, who had attacked him for that. He said, I apologize. I didn't know this boy knew this a lot of football because he was playing for Numpalaka last season. And Paida Black Angels. Spotting a player from a relegated side is not easy. He's been there, done it. Even when they went to Burundi, Mubiru had the guts to drop Saidi Cheyune for that boy. So what they add to me, Mubiru adds this understanding of the game, which Mbabas also does, but Mbabas has the psyche. You should be near a bench where he's coaching, and you won't fail to understand why his team plays the way he plays. He tries to push the team, he encourages them regardless of whether they are being thumped or anything. You could see they are a team that don't give up as long as they are under Mbaba's motivation, understanding of the game. And besides, he's one of the players to have played top football in Europe, so he brings a lot of understanding of the game. Then Mubiru spotting the players, and then having the guts to say, I'm not playing Wasike, I'll field a younger Ismail Chiyonga, and then he goes on and does the job.
There is the faith. All right, that is great. Someone here likes when you say, "I'll give an example." So I hope you have a lot more examples in your repertoire there. We will just have another of our pundits, the editor-in-chief of Kawowo Sports, we want to loop him in and get some extra feedback coming in from the basketball side. Back over to you, Franklin.
We are glad to have you on this show. Of course, it is obvious you're supposed to share, comment, and like. Quickly going through the basketball, there are three major events that are going on or that have happened over the past 7 days. The first one was the launch of the 3x3 Africa Cup that Uganda is going to host in the first weekend of November from 7th to 10th, and the preparations seem to be going quite well. Going by what the football officials and the football officials were at the press conference on Thursday said, Uganda is going, of course, to field 4 teams, okay, in the categories of under 18 and, of course, the open category, the seniors. And we believe, given how we are doing as a country in the 3x3 since it was introduced, we feel we are really going to do quite well when it comes to the 3x3 that we are going to host. Given, I think the past Africa Cup we were part of, I think the ladies finished second, behind Mali. Now, also happening, the Association of Olympic Committees, National Olympic Committees, beach games that are happening in Qatar. And of course, Uganda is taking a part as well in the 3x3 basketball that is going to be introduced as one of the sports at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. Uganda played their first game yesterday, the men's category, and it did not go down well. Uganda lost the game and they lost a player as well. Jonathan Negavu, who turns out for State Oilers, was injured during the game against Russia. That Uganda lost, I think, 14-11. And the people who remained, all the players who remained, are quite not as experienced. As you would say, it is Fayed Bale and Henry Okoth of UPDF. Probably we cannot ask for much from the two who are fair to play to continue for Uganda, but we can only hope it's going to be a learning experience. For the women, Uganda just played their first game this afternoon, and given how good they have been in the women's category, the 3x3 basketball, they won the game against Indonesia. And a little bit later on, around 6:30, they will be playing China. And we hope the ladies can do more than just participate, unlike the boys who were registered with just 3 players. Now, moving on. The lower division of the National Basketball League, that is Division 1 and Division 2, is continuing the playoffs, and they are in the final phase, I mean the playoff finals. And as you would expect, the lower division is more competitive, of course, than the National Basketball League, if you're to look at it closely. The men's series are tied with UPDF level in the series on Saturday, after going down to non-Blazers in the opening game, and you'd expect that is going to be back and forth. There are teams that are almost at the same level, and you'd think they are going to produce a spectacle until the end of the series. Unlike the men's side that is competitive, the ladies are a little bit lopsided. The school side now is a little bit way behind the Magic Stormers, who were relegated from the league last season, and Magic Stormers is leading those series 2-0, and you would expect they are going to win the division. But that is not the most important. The most important thing is that both the teams are already in next season's league, if nothing changes in as far as the teams that are admitted into the top league happens. Now, this week as well, the biggest, I think, competition and tournament in basketball in Africa in terms of club competition starts this week in Dar es Salaam, the Basketball Africa League. That was announced last year, starts this week in Dar es Salaam with the qualifiers and State Oilers. As you would expect, they have been champions for 6 straight years. They are representing Uganda at those qualifiers, where Patriots of Rwanda are also taking part in the first round of the qualifiers. You would expect State Oilers to go through without being troubled that much. As always, for international tournaments, they brought in the foreign-based players. They brought in 2 this time around. They brought in Jordan Maize, who has played with the Silverbacks before during the World Cup qualifiers in Nigeria, and Robinson Opong, who has been around for a long time now. These players have been with the Oilers for the last 2 campaigns in the Africa Champions Cup, and they are going to add massively to the squad that is without Jimmy Nabu. As we know, he's quitting the game, and he's not going to be, of course, part of that tournament. You would think, since it is the top 2 teams qualifying from each qualifying group for the last 16, you would think State Oilers will really be a top 2 team, because they have dominated the region for, I think, around 2 seasons straight now, 2 or 3, I think, apart from last year when they were not part of the qualifiers, for reasons that only the State Oil management can pretty well elaborate. But what is expected is that with the squad that the Oilers have, there shouldn't be any issues with qualifying really for the second round of the Basketball Africa League. And you would expect, given how serious the club is, once they are into the second round of the qualifiers, they are going to make some more additions such that they can be as competitive as they should when it comes to the 2020 Basketball Africa League. The side played a scrimmage game against Power, and probably the opponent was not the right one, because they have beaten the Power left, right and center. I don't know if they were given the real competition that they will expect to get from the qualifiers, but you'd think they will have no trouble in advancing to the last 16 of the competition, where they will have, again, to be among the top 4 at that event, to have a chance of playing at the Basketball Africa League, where the money is at this point in time. I think that is pretty much it from the basketball this week, and I can take you back to Joseph Owen and the crew.
Thank you, Franklin, for that update from the basketball world. Everyone is talking about this goal this kid scored, but at least finally KCCA got to win a match. At their level, they shouldn't be going 4 matches without a win, but at least they eventually got a win. Is everything now fine over there?
They had gone 5 games without winning in all competitions, and then fortunately they had a customer in Ondumparaka Stadium Stadium, Lugogo. For every person that did not want KCCA to get back to winning ways again, they wouldn't have played for such a fixture because this is a routine home win. Since Ondumparaka was promoted to the Premiership, they've conceded the most number of goals at StarTime Stadium, Gogo, against KCCA. Even when they did play so well last season, they lost 1-0, a penalty, and then before Sadat Anakwi's goal, that looked exactly like Dennis Bergkamp's against Newcastle, while still played for Arsenal. Ondumparaka was the side on top of the game, but maybe it's psychological. They crumbled and ended up conceding 3 more to ensure that Mike Mutiaba scored the first hat-trick of the season. Back to winning ways. They should have had a game tomorrow against Chetume, but it has been scrapped off. Guess what? Their next fixture is against a team they've never beaten in the league, away and home That's in Mbarara City. That will be on the 29th, I guess. They wanted to play Chetume so badly tomorrow. It did not happen because the fixture has been postponed according to the Uganda Premier League. But there are sources within KCCA, including one from the CEO, that they did ask FUFA not to postpone their game, because it's very important. When you get back to winning ways, you want to play as soon as possible. They are not going to play as soon as possible, and they will play on the 29th after playing a continental game on 27th. I don't know how that's going to happen. They have Paradu in the CAF Confederation Cup playoff home. They will be playing at home. And then just a day later, they travel to Mbarara, where they've never won a game. Mark this word. Neither Lugogo nor Kacheka. They've never beaten Mbarara City. So that's another fixture they'll be looking to. And it's a tough one. Of course, it will be tough to get back to winning ways and then fail to win your next game, because it will be like the problems still persist. But of course, this is a KCCA. They are champions of the league. They've shown everyone that everyone can be beaten. But of course, like I said the previous time I was here, this season looks kind of funny. Today you win, tomorrow you lose. That's why, apart from maybe Bull and perhaps Vipers, we've not had teams that are very consistent this term. It will be amazing to see how do they react after this long break, after scoring 4, because it would be nice to play, especially against a side that is newly promoted like Chetume, a few days after beating Ondumparaka.
Yes.
What will happen between now and 29th September, when they visit their bogey side in Mbarara City, remains something of a debate. But of course, back to winning ways, that's where the neutrals would want it. But of course, the haters would say we wanted more of miseries at the club.
But you see, that will be Mbarara City's first game back home. Just imagine the crowd that is going to be there. It's going to be tough for KCC. I'm telling you. But you see, it takes me back to what Chonga said earlier on about the fixture adjustments here and then. I think games would have gone on tomorrow and Wednesday. It's not bad because we are playing on Saturday. So the games would have been played on Tuesday and Wednesday. There's no harm in that. But see, for us, when the national team is going to play, just everything stops. I don't know why. Everything stops in this country.
Because
so
you can
focus goes
afford
to the
good
national
players. You know, at the beginning of this season, Joel Muita wrote an article on Kawowo.com and said he actually asked the team to make their predictions. Like, who is going to win this league? I think half, not even half, like 80% of the Kawowo office was like Vipers. Tell us, why is Vipers not on top of the table?
Remember, we have 2 games in hand. Yeah, people have played 9, 10, 8. For us, we have played 7 games, so we still have 2 games in hand. And people saying giving us a chance to win this title is because of the depth in our squad. Yeah, but we shall try our best and see if we can win this league as well.
Man has caveats. Like, Oba, we shall win, but upcoming matches.
We should have had Police Proline tomorrow. That would be the 2 bottom sides. But then that's also not going to happen. When the league returns, we shall have Busoga away to Express FC. Busoga will miss 2 of their key players that were given red cards against Police. And then Wachiso Giants will play at home to Police, where the 2 teams host. So it will be the first of Wakisha Derby this season. KCC, like I said, will be going to Mbarara. Vipers, not so sure. Chetume. Away? They've never won a night game. I mean, Vipers and Chetume did win 1. So you could see it's going to be an interesting return to the league, because every time we've had such a break, there is eagerness to go catch these games. Surprisingly, 6 of those games are on the same day, and only 2 the following day, which leaves you wondering what kind of schedule is this, because it will be interesting if these games are spread so that the fans get a chance to watch more than one on match day. But sometimes you have to forgive the league managers in collaboration with the FUFA, because the fixtures that were to be played tomorrow were scheduled before, rescheduled. Now they will have to reschedule them again. So it's kind of tough. But so far, a season that has a lot of it has a lot of talking points in terms of lack of consistency, and then a few players have stood out. I would say Fadi Bayo at Vipers, scoring for fun, and I scored 2 good goals against Sixth Place last week, 2 one-on-one situations, yes, on Saturday. And then another player, Robert Mukongotia, and not so highly rated, assigned for URA a few seasons ago and failed to score goals. He's doing so at ball. Then a young Hassan Senyonja at Wachiso Giants, as well as Vianney Sekajugo. KCC not having that standout player until Mike Mutiaba popped up with a hat-trick. He's been playing well, by the way, except for the fact that he's not been scoring. Then Police, despite being in the last 2, they have Yusuf Sozi and Andrew Samson Chigozi, the 2 of the best midfielders I've seen this season. Then Maroons doing well, and the likes of Douglas Bamweyana beating up on everyone. And I don't know how Villa survived, because getting at the end of the game, it was the Maroons goalkeeper that was voted man of the match. That just tells you about the kind of match that Villa had on the day. Then Villa bringing into former under-17 captain Gavin Chizito into their starting 11, playing at centre-back. I had a few chats with people, and I just like the way KCCA do market their thing. When you look at Vipers, they have a Bobo Sibiaruhanga and Abdu Watambala, promoted from the junior side and doing a lot of good work. Sadata Naku, just 1 goal. Then Gavin Chizito, not just playing up front, but in defense at Villa, was against Vipers, doing so well. Why did I bring about this case a thing? They will always make you feel like they are the side with the only promoted kids. Yeah. But then when you look at the league, Vipers has Watambara starting games, Bobo Sibiaruhanga starting games, but of course there's no that Hulabaru. Maybe there are people at Vipers, the people at Villa need to hype these players, because Gavin Chizito was the captain of the under-17. He has been the captain of the under-20, which means he's a leader, but then you will never find it anywhere at Villa.
Speaking of, well, that's a debate for another time, whether young players need to be hyped to a point. Maybe they need to be given time or to be hyped, but it's a debate I want to postpone because we have another person who actually represented Uganda in the under-19. Was that a World Cup?
Like I said,
you've never played for a national team, and someone was saying here you were walloped, and afterward you were singing party after party after party.
I've never played for a national team, but I played for a national team of my primary school. Because it was always tough to get on the school team. That was more like a national team. So people playing, say, games like cricket and being there. Of course, except for Davis.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
What
are you saying? You man, what are you saying?
A few top marksmen, Kenneth Kamyuka and the likes. Waiswa. Of course, they are those top guys. But of course, No.
Let us go to Dennis Musali right now, and he responds to a man who was walloped yesterday. We sent him to represent Kawowo Sports in football, and what came out was really terrible. Instead, let's have an actual national team player. Dennis.
Thank you, Joseph and Ismail. Abdu, welcome to our show. But Ismail Kyong, I think he's still hurting from being removed from the KCCA group. I'm going to ask our PR Magero to add him back to our group because the sour grapes have gone too far, so we need to settle the score. And on top of that, actually, he was supposed to be a team manager at the Sports Gala, but he was a no-show. And you saw the way the results went. We were not winners, but we participated at least. So Chiyonga will settle that. I'll just give you a simple assignment. After the show, you can Google my name. You see how many pages come up. So the rest will be history, like you've said. But from the cricketing world last week, we'll first talk about the 12 players that have been summoned to start training for the tournament in Hong Kong. Or by the way, I've seen the cricketers following the show. Adonia Waibale, Solari Wakabi, Naomi Kayondo, and George William Sozi in the US. Thank you for watching Kibanda Pundits. Every week, every Monday, we give you a small update on what's happening in the cricketing world and all other sports. But like I was saying, last week, no, the team has been training for a month, not last week, but it was formally revealed. The 12 players were preparing for the tournament in Hong Kong. A few surprises in there. I think the major surprise was being youngster Richard Agamira making the side. He's been selected to be part of the 12. He's never been part of the national team setup. But I think it's a change of course. Without Bilal Hassan and Ifana Fridi, the team is kind of short on pace bowlers, so Richard Agamira has been brought into the side. There is no place for the youngsters Rogers Olipa and Zephania Arinaitwe, who I would say had a difficult time during the Africa T20 tournament in Kampala. They've been put aside for now, I think, but they'll be important in the future. Right now, I think the team is just trying to focus on a few core players that they feel will deliver the results they will deliver the results in Hong Kong. So the guys on the team are Roger Mukasa, Brian Masaba, there's Brian Masaba, Ham Kayondo, Arnold Otwani, Fred Achelam, Richard Agamile, like I mentioned. Henry Senyondo, the veteran Frank Usubuga, is also in there. He was injured a few months back. He had an operation in his hand, but I saw him playing in the national team trial game on Friday. So I think he's ready to go. He's back again. Those are the few mentions on the team. As well as they've added 2 more players to the 12, Dinesh Nakrani and Ronak Patel. I've also, Dinesh is already here in the country from India, and Ronak will be joining the team next week. So it will be a total of 14 players who will be preparing. I do not know, and I don't think it may be the final 14. There could be changes later, but we'll wait and see what the selectors come up with. In terms of playing locally, we've had, I'll just briefly say Tulu Mbidwa. The Chapa League has taken over Chambogo Cricket over on Sunday, which is a bad development for us. That means that teams can no longer play from the Chambogo Cricket Oval when our league actually happens every Sunday. So it has been a big setback for our league. We're already 3/4 way through the season, but we still have a lot of games to be played between Division 1 and Division 2. So right now it is impossible to play in Chambogo, and then on Sunday Lugogo still has its issues. I think there are very many issues that are going to happen between now until the end of the year. Our only option is playing either in Entebbe, Budo or Gingeses, and you'd note that only our Division 1 teams can only play on our tough wickets, which are in Lugogo, Chambogo and Entebbe. So if without Chambogo and Lugogo, meaning the teams can only play in Entebbe. So we urge, I will speak to the fraternity of Chapa League. I don't know, I think that's Mbara High, that as sportsmen, you need to demand results where you have also been part of the process. It's hard for our national team players to get practice when they cannot play on Sunday. Because anyway, you want to enjoy a fun league. It's a good thing to have, but I think it should be empathic enough that the cricket needs to happen, and it can only happen on Sunday when you guys are also having your own league. So there wasn't much in terms of action this weekend. The only game that was possible was washed out. It was in Budo. Tabletoppers, Div 2 table leaders, Ceylon Lions were taking on SEC. Unfortunately, the rain is the one that decided the game. They could not continue beyond after lunch. They couldn't play because the ground was very wet. I think I'd written in my preview on Kawowo that a washed out game is a good result for SEC because for them it gives them it still keeps them with an outside chance of really getting promoted. But for Ceylon Lions, I think they're just going through the paces. They've already been promoted. It's a final promotion spot in Division 2 that is still being contested between SEC, Wanderers and Avengers. Wanderers has 6 games in hand and they will need to win at least 5 of those games without rain interfering any of them for them to gain promotion. SEC and Avengers will just be hoping that misfortune can happen to Wanderers and either of them can sneak into Division 1 via that final qualifying spot. From the world of cricket, I think that's basically it. India, world of South Africa, the Proteas are going through a transition and it's not a good one. They lost by an inning and very many runs. So Protea fans, they will need to relax for now. What they are going through is probably what the cricket cranes are also going through. But just a reminder that last week we were not able to have the chairman of Uganda Cricket on Friday because of some unavoidable circumstances. But this week on Friday we sure have him here and he will be taking in all your questions and giving you all the answers to things that you want to hear about in the world of cricket. So Friday 4 p.m. be sure to catch Mr. Ansasira Bashir on Kawowo Sports and you can send through all your questions that you want to ask him. Back to Joseph, Ismail and Abdu.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm glad you didn't rant about KCCA. The man supports KCCA and he has been suffering for the past few.
Has two Vipers jerseys.
You're still trying. Well, let's talk about the big league. It has finally come up. We touched on it earlier, but the core thing that most people talk about when it comes to the big league are those very long trips. Who is the most disadvantaged in the big league this time around?
I need to look at the two groups critically, but when I tried to search for Bukedia, because this was one of the sides that our Giants played against last season, that was in the Elgon group. I saw they had a game at home, I think, away from home on Thursday. On Saturday they have a game at home, but that's Arua and then return to Bukedia. So that caught my eye, and I think they are one of the most disadvantaged sides. However, there's something I've liked about this season. The fact that the teams have been trimmed because there is a target to have only one group that's of 16 teams in the FUFA Big League like it is in the Uganda Premier League. And last season the teams were at 20, that's 10-10. Now they are 9-9 in each group. That means you play 18 games, unlike 20 last season. And within the next year, I guess, we shall have 16 and one group. According to people that have been in the big league, the likes of Coach Brian Senyondo, he told me he cannot wait to have a unified FUFA Big League because of the fact that there is that playoff. When you go into that playoff, sometimes it's beyond how much talent, how much gifted your boys are, or how much good they've been throughout the season. We saw a few years ago synergy against Timbarara City. Everything that was done at Lugogo is well remembered for referee Dennis Bate, for whatever he did. Then just last season when we all thought that Kansai Plascon was the best team, it happened to be Chetume. So it's always tough to play in the playoff. So people are already excited. The fact that maybe in the near future the league will be merged. But of course, like I said before at the start of this show, is the fact that these guys are going to play over. Actually, I heard the first round will be done before the end of the year. And that means if we start now, I told it's to be played within 30 days. That's 8 games, all 9. So it means that in a month, those guys can. I don't know how the guys are going to do away with the journeys, because it's unavoidable. Because we have teams in Amoka, that's Lira. We have Davzo Stars in Arua. There is Bright Light. No, Bright Light is it Soroti? A lot of teams that have too much distance between them. We wait to see. I will have to critically look at the groups and then know which team will travel the most. How ineffective is it, especially in terms of finances, fatigue, and everything. But of course, it kicks off Thursday. The big game will be at the StarTimes Stadium. Katwe United, Tulibanyiv, will be hosting. We'll be hosting. Is it Moka or Abdu also? Go there, watch that game. It's one of the games that will be in Kampala. Katwe United is owned by the Honorable Alan Sewanyana. It's part of, I think, everyone from Machindi, from Katwe, and of course those that love football within Kampala. And I'm being told that unlike last season, this season they may have games on TV because these guys adopted the name, but of course away from a few pennies they were getting, they were not really feeling the fact that this league was sponsored the same way the other one that it matters.
But I'll start with when Junga said about the big games. There's another one in Luero. That's Ndeje versus Nyamitiobora. The two teams that were relegated last season. That's another big one. So tomorrow as well, on Thursday as well. But I think I'll go back to the league in general when Chonga said the movements and what. I think Big League is the most expensive league in Uganda. I think they use much more money than us in the top flight league, because those movements, today you are in Nuwero, tomorrow you are in Kabale, you are in where. But for us here, I think the movements are few. One, you're going to Arua.
The longest is Arua. That's one you give up.
Yeah, we give up.
You go to Toro.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually last season in the FUFA Big League, Wachiso Giants hosted games at Jinja. So the first game was in Lira. There was a game in Arua, one game in Arua, one in Inebi, one in Ibukedia. There was one in Soroti. There was one in Imbale Kataka. So out of the 20 games, you have like 12. Forget about it.
No.
How much money the winner in the big league gets? Yeah. It is not enough to cover. So basically, we need. Yeah. We need. I grew up in Mbale, and I'm very disappointed. There is no team coming up from Mbale. Mbale people, I don't know what's happening. Ever since Mbale Heroes,
I heard Mbale Heroes bought Chiboga Yanga. They are still question marks over there, but we could see Mbale Heroes return to Chiboga Young and playing in the FUFA Big League. Remember, Chiboga Young nearly got promoted last season.
Yeah. So hopefully we have a team from Mbale. I used to, as a child, go to watch Mbale Heroes with our coach Sam Simbwa, but those are good old days that have now disappeared. Let's get to our other pundit, Ernest, to give us an update from the rugby world.
Should I say bye-bye to Bana Swaib and the people, because I have to catch a flight? I have to catch a flight.
Ernest.
I'm excited to say that coming from Barara, and Barara Lions having our football ground Kacheka confirmed to host our games, and knowing that we'll host KCCA at home. They've never beaten us. I hope it also rains on that day, because it increases our chances of beating KCCA. We're at least sure that maybe football is returning home, and I'm waiting to know how much a season ticket will cost so that I can watch the games at Kacheka. And away from the football, in the world of rugby, it was a lowly weekend for the ladies at the Rugby Africa Women's Sevens, which also doubled as the Tokyo 2020 Olympic qualifiers. We played 6 games and won 4, which is okay, but we finished 5th out of 12, and that is a decline from the performance that we had a few years ago, I think 2 years ago, where we finished 2nd. This year you could say that South Africa came back in the tournament. We lost our first game to South Africa 32-0. Many things to say about that, but South Africa are a much better side. Kenya, who they played in the final, qualified for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, but of course they beat them, finished ahead of us in 2nd place, and there was Madagascar and Tunisia. Uganda ideally shouldn't be performing below Madagascar and Tunisia, so I think the talking points will be on what has caused our decline, considering the team has had better preparations for the tournament, but we believe that with the squad selection, there will be a few things tweaked here and there as we prepare for the next tournament. The Safari Sevens is coming this very weekend, and we are heading to the RFEA grounds in Ngong Road in Nairobi. There's good news for the people that watch rugby on TV. Cecil Africa and Siviwe Soizwapi that we've seen in the HSBC Sevens World Series will be in Kenya for the Safari Sevens, has been confirmed. But the crowd favorite is of course the home side, the Kenya Sevens and the Samurai Sevens, who this year will be missing the services of Philippe Okoraч, who has started a new career, a new path in French rugby, playing for Bougies XV in the 3rd tier of French rugby. But most importantly, Uganda's 12-man squad was announced. We have a few familiar faces that have been there. Michael Okorach is captain after announcing retirement from the 15th department. We feel that maybe this could be one of his parting shots as a leader on the national team. And talking about being a leader, there's 3 debutants on the national team. That's William Nkore, Norbert Okeni and Timothy Odong. William Nkore has played in national team colours for the Sevens Academy on the French-Uganda Friendship Week. He's not new. He has also played in Nairobi for the national team. He's not new in national team colours, and we believe he's going to step up for that. But Norbert Okeni had a very, very, very good performance in the Sevens series, inspiring Cobs to winning the championship for this year at the end of last season. And Timothy Odong, who is the rising star, big power carrier, very hard tackler. And we look forward to seeing how they will perform on the flanks with the likes of Joseph Aredo, the fans' favorite on social media, with Solomon Okia, who is back from injury, and Pius Ogena, who, well, we could say that Uganda needs him both in sevens and in 15s, but we know the potential that he has in sevens. And we look forward to having a very good tournament this very weekend, starting with the 18th, that's a Friday, up to Saturday, 18th to 20th. And we hope to enjoy ourselves in Kenya. Thank you very much. And back to the Pundits. I hope we shall be having Kibanda Pundits for rugby very soon, coming very soon, where we have Ismail Chiyonga also showing us, proving to us that he can carry some balls, not and not just about being, and not. Oh man, I'm just excited for the Safari Sevens because I believe I'm going to make the journey, and maybe Kawowo will be there. We shall have Kibanda Pundits there with the rugby stars. Serevi is going to be there, and I'm excited to take part in the Safari Sevens. Back to you guys.
Man is very happy.
Ernest, you have lofty ambitions. Your expectations of Isma are very high. If the man cannot kick a football, what do you expect him to do in rugby? All right. Final thoughts.
About the whole topics?
No, not about
Isma Chiyonga.
career,
He can't play rugby. He can't. He's the only guy who can play football, I know. As we go, I call upon FUFA and the UPL to sit down and rectify these mistakes that we are having, because now 2 weeks of no football in the league, it also costs some teams that have been on a good run. Like first of all, this week, let's say there's the Cranes playing in Chan. Then what's there next week? But one. What's there? There's nothing there. I don't know what's there even. Isma, do you know what's there?
Final thoughts.
To the viewers out there and the readers of Kawowo.com, I just want to thank you for following us. Where we go wrong, it's not that we always want to, but we do apologize. Where we step on a few toes, we also apologize, but we do this for the good of sports in Uganda, for the good of all the games. I want to salute you, the likes of Bana Swaib, Asaf Mwewa, the junior watching from USA. Now, Asaf, are you coaching anything there, or you're just a fan? Because
club is coaching there. It's just like a school. It's like a school.
Failed exams, you cannot coach. But anyway, let's not enter into a pre-bargain with Asaf. Just to wish you all the best. The viewers out there, Peter Cole Kagawa, the man that I know that supports Villa and Argentina, and Messi. He worships Messi, but he's a very, very good fan. I've seen him watching Bana Swaib, agent to Fadi Bayo. Without him, maybe Vipers wouldn't be where they are, because Fadi Bayo has done everything good at Vipers.
Thank you for following us. All of you who have left us comments. If you haven't, just tap on that share button so that other people enjoy. Do not enjoy alone. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.